Well, hey everybody, my name is Ruben Cash and I'm the environmental coordinator for Skagway Traditional Council, and we've got a little bit of a problem that I'm sure some of you are aware of around town, and it comes in the form of this crazy looking little plant right here. This is a member of the plantain family. It's commonly known as yellow toadflax. The scientific name is Linaria vulgaris. And a lot of us call it butter and eggs because it's got this very distinct color in the flowers. Why is this a problem? Well, Linaria vulgaris, or butter and eggs, is a very, very, very successful reproducer. Not only can it produce seeds and spread its seeds, it can also reproduce through creeping rhizomes, which is a fancy word for little vining roots that go out. So you see this little colony right here. This potentially could be all just one plant. Now, each one of these plants is capable of producing up to 30,000 seeds, and also that vegetative growth allows it to spread as well. Why is this a problem? This is a problem because, first of all, the plant is poisonous. So if your dog gets to it, or if you have livestock that are grazing on it, it could hurt them. It's also poisonous to people. But the biggest concern for us is that it outcompetes with native plants. It's so very successful that it's able to take over all the soil resources and shade out other plants, and basically you'll get what's called a monoculture of this plant if you just let it go. We need to get rid of this thing, and we're hoping that we can get the community to help us. And what we're going to do is we're going to offer butter and eggs for butter and eggs. Let me tell you just a little bit of how this works. First of all, you need to know how to identify the plant. When they have flowers on them, they're quite easy to identify because they have this very snapdragon-like appearance with the big spike that comes down at the bottom, and that bright orange and bright kind of milky yellow color is very, very distinctive. But what happens if you have a plant that doesn't have any flowers on it? The easiest way to know is that it's got these long kind of pinnate leaves that are whorled around the central stem. The leaves themselves are very smooth. They don't have any ridges except for the central ridge, and they don't have any hairs on them. You can also find them without flowers, covered in these little seed packets, right? Now, at first glance, you might think that this is just one seed, but if you crack this open, you can see that it's full of hundreds of little tiny winged seeds. And once these pods open up, because they have wings on them, the wind can spread them, and I think that's part of the reason that they do so well here in windy Skagway. Keeping in mind that they do have creeping rhizomes, or those roots that spread out, it's really important that we try to get as much of the plant out as we can when we pull these. A plant can actually grow from the tiniest little fragment of root. 13 millimeters, which is just about a ½ inch, is all this plant needs in order to grow again. So when we're coming out here and we're pulling these, we want to go down to the very base of the plant, get the thickest part of the stem that we can get, and don't just yank it out because you're more likely to break it off at the root. You want to try to work it out as much as you can, kind of wiggle it around, keeping hold on that base of that stem. That's sometimes the best that you can do, but it's better than leaving, that chunk of root in the ground, because the plant can regrow from that. The main thing that we want to do is we want to take out the plants that are flowering and the plants that have gone to seed. Try to get as much of that root out as we can and keep these seeds from being released and going back and replenishing this seed bank. Got a lot of root on that. So where do we go to find this stuff? Well, you'll find it all over the place, but the real important thing here is that you respect people's private property. You shouldn't just go gallivanting onto someone's yard and ripping this stuff up willy-nilly. If you see it in someone's yard and you know who lives there, ask for their permission before you enter onto their property, and try to respect all of the different working places around town. Don't just go onto the White Pass train yard and start pulling this stuff up. You can find it, like here we're here on the revetment by the Skagway River over on Alaska Street, and this stuff is growing all over the place. This is permissible to come onto and pull some of these plants. As you're gathering, try to be conscious of social distancing and masking. Don't gather in big groups and have a big hot tub party while you're doing this. Wear a mask. Try to keep yourself 6 feet away from other people. Just be safe while you're out doing this. So what are you going to get for all this work that you're going to do? Well, we're going to weigh out what you bring into STC. And for every 4 pounds of only butter and eggs, we're going to give you 1 pound of butter and 1 dozen eggs. So that's a pretty smoking deal for not very much work. 4 pounds ought to take you probably 15 minutes or a half hour. So works out pretty well. Get out there, find yourself some butter and eggs, have fun, be safe. We really appreciate it because this is going to help our entire ecosystem here in Skagway to thrive and flourish. And we'll see you down at the Tribal Center.